Thank you all for making the time to join us on today's webinar. My name is Natalie Taylor and I'm a content marketing writer here at Feedvisor. I'm joined by Amazon marketing expert Yev Marisenko, founder of AMZjet and Zon Tracker, which is a tool to optimize Facebook ads to drive Amazon sales. Through these two companies, Yev has a ton of data and insights that he's going to share with us today to shed light on ad attribution best practices and how to optimize your cross-channel funnels to drive traffic back to Amazon and increase your sales. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone that we will be sending out a link to today's recording, and there will be time for a Q&A at the end of the presentation. So if you have questions throughout, please enter them into the space provided, and we'll do our best to get to all of them. Brands are more often turning to paid digital marketing to bolster their online presence. And while the majority of brands say social media marketing is their biggest source of e-commerce opportunity, 59% of brands on Amazon say the platform generates their highest return on media spend, outpacing Google at 22% and Facebook at 17%. And that makes sense considering that Amazon likely gets all the ad attribution, even from external marketing initiatives, since the conversion happens on Amazon. But many marketers often miss several crucial factors to determine their true ROI. Amazon attribution has its limitations, and there's generally a fundamental gap in marketers' approach that limits attribution of external marketing on Amazon sales. And this can prevent brands from optimizing their strategies and appropriately allocating their ad spend. Today, Yev will be revealing the missing link in your attribution approach and share ways to better understand your KPIs so you can optimize your cross-channel marketing to increase sales on Amazon. Some of what we'll go over today includes the trends among small and large brands around their off-Amazon marketing strategies, particularly with Facebook ads, a deep dive into understanding spillover and attribution sales, and the top reasons why you might have volatility in your sales and keyword rank positions, and ways that you can optimize accordingly. So on that note, Yev, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you, Natalie, and thank you, Feedvisor team. I appreciate everyone joining the call. So let me switch over my screen. All right, there we go. So I'm going to show you, it's going to be a very analytical perspective. That's where my background is, and seeing across brands and a variety of different strategies. So this is all of the data that I'm seeing. I'm going to give you some of the best practices, but also for you to strategically basically be aware of something that maybe you didn't know that some other brands are, and to if you can optimize your marketing this way. So as the numbers mentioned about Amazon claiming the attribution credit, and here's just some examples where when you're running Facebook ads and you end up having increase in Amazon sales, there's a lot of different things that could happen in between, right? Maybe some brands are running ads directly to Amazon, but many on here are likely running ads to their website, and there's all kinds of like spillover sales happening and other journeys that are happening. So that's what we're going to talk about, is that when is the Amazon PPC, Amazon ads claiming that credit, and are you actually attributing some of that back to know that you need to continue running your campaigns, and specifically which ads to turn off, which ads to scale. And the way I'm getting this data and all of these insights are going to be, so it's from one of the tools, and it basically comes down to having Amazon purchase data in the Facebook Ad Manager. So that's where we know in this example with a brand where they have 100,000 website purchases and 10,000 purchases that are coming on Amazon. And it's a different variety of strategies that are used, but then it makes a big difference if you know that 10% of your website equivalent sales are actually happening on Amazon. So that's going to be having a big impact how you're making decisions after that. So this is what a lot of the data is based on, having this type of information. So we're going to do a little quiz to keep you all engaged, and let's start off with a little bit of background. So overall, we know that the purchase conversion rate on an Amazon listing is really high compared to e-commerce overall. If someone is searching and purchasing, it's 15% on average, and of course it varies a lot depending if it's a warmer audience, if there's kind of branded ad going, compared to just normal e-commerce, whether it's your Shopify store, WooCommerce, wherever your store is 3% on average, or maybe 2 to 3%, and of course varies quite a bit if it's a warmer audience, if it's coming from Google organic sources, but just that we know there's comparison, this really difference. But then what is happening when Facebook ads are going to Amazon and there's an Amazon purchase happening? There's different ways of doing this, but generally, so let's have a quiz that out of the, what conversion rate do you think is happening? Is all kinds of brands, all kinds of strategies in general, is it similar to how the Amazon listing conversion rate is, where it's 5 to 20%, closer to normal e-commerce, your website 1 to 5%, something lower than that, 0.1 to 1%, or something that's abnormally really low, just 0.01 to 0.1%, or even under that. So just vote. I'll give you a few seconds to vote. Just what do you think is the conversion rate on strategies of sending Facebook traffic to Amazon? And part of the discussion later we'll have, like, why would you actually want to do this, or what are the cases when you want to send traffic to your website and then when you want to send traffic to your Amazon listing in different ways. So let's see what you think overall. All right, so it seems like majority is saying like 1 to 5%, so very close to what a normal e-commerce conversion rate is. And then the next common one is just under that. And also there's a vote for some votes, the other options as well. But it's kind of like in the middle, that's where the majority are. So overall, actually sending traffic from Facebook to Amazon, it's like that a really abnormal number. And when you hear a lot of like e-commerce experts talking about driving social traffic to a shopping platform, it actually makes sense that there's usually some incongruity there on that customer journey. So in most cases, it's this really, really low number. And we're going to talk about what are some brands doing that are on the higher end, because it is possible to get a higher conversion rates when you're sending traffic to Amazon. But what are those brands doing, and what are the different trade-offs to be able to do that? So I'm going to show overall. I'm not going to get into the exact details of there's all kinds of pathways and journeys that could happen. So I know a lot of people in this room already know a lot of these strategies. So I'm going to give you an overview of the different approaches and what they mean in terms of attribution. So for example, in one way where you're running Facebook traffic and it's through some sort of messenger bot where it could be focused on tools that are focused for Amazon sellers or ManyChat, you're basically extending your customer journey, and then the conversion rate, it varies quite a bit. Are you doing some sort of like giveaways or heavy discounts? Your conversion rate may be really high, but there's a trade-off where it's a really low quality audience. It's probably not good for your brand compared to where conversion rates are lower when you're trying to get real sales. And I'll talk about a little bit later about search, find, buy, SFB, and intentionally trying to rank and the Amazon algorithm. So we'll come back to that. But some of these other pathways are using landing pages different ways. So I mean, nothing surprising here, but just overall knowing that there's usually higher conversion rates when it's some sort of like discounts or offers compared to when you're trying to make that customer journey longer. If you're getting into content marketing, the conversion rates are usually higher, but it's much harder to do, right, compared to all of the other ones. So maybe it's the best in the long, but the hardest to do. So there's all of these different pathways, and each one is going to have a different role in how attribution is important and what you're able to attribute in different ways. So and there's all kinds of other scenarios too. For example, for some brands, it's running Facebook ads to a retailer store. You're actually sending it to REI, Ace Hardware, or wherever you're sending the traffic, kind of get foot traffic there, but there's spillover sales happening into Amazon too. So there's all strategies, and there's different levels of, is it a higher quality audience, and how many brands and competitors are doing that. So we're going to talk about that. And in this presentation, I'm going to focus too much on best practices to make ads better. So, but it's going to be more attribution perspective. But if this would be like a very tactical about like how, first identifying what is the problem of running Facebook ads and getting Amazon that multi-channel attribution, you have to identify where's the problem first. Is the cost too high? Cost per click, cost per message, cost per purchase. Then you usually have to go into some sort of creative route where like maybe just not getting enough creative, enough variety, and testing enough audiences. But then once you're getting into the other questions, what type of conversion are you getting on Amazon? Are you having ranking effects on Amazon as a result of the external traffic you're sending, and how do those play a role into attribution? So we'll get into some of these. So talking about attribution, some of the most common ways, and I'm sure some of you are using these different ways when you're running Facebook traffic and overall ending up with Amazon sales, and regardless of what's happening in between, Amazon attribution is a more newer option. Amazon is providing this, and you're either tagging links, you may be using coupon codes to know that a coupon code was used, so then you can track that back in your Amazon, and adding all the different links and coupons in your external marketing, or tracking through affiliate links. So if affiliate's running it for you, or using some sort of lift attribution, if you stop Facebook ads for a day or a month and looking at the consequence of Amazon sales, I'm decreasing after that. But what I'm going to talk about, and this is the insights that I have from ZonTracker, is more of a customer journey mapping, where you're able to attribute some of these different sales and its different trade-offs compared to these other methods. So happening in the IT world, we would want to have the Facebook pixel on Amazon, and all of that data from Amazon is sent back to Facebook, right? We'll have that metrics. We'll be able to do the practices of Facebook of scaling ads, because Facebook has all of that data and it's optimizing. But we don't have that for different reasons. Amazon doesn't provide that option to us, but there's different workarounds of being able to do that, and at different levels of having control of your audience, Amazon audience, and kind of like a blend of both audiences. I think each brand has different thresholds of what they're deciding if they think the customer belongs to them or to Amazon, and Amazon has their own definition. But some of the different ways, basically, that from Facebook in these customer journeys, when an Amazon purchase happens, you're collecting data in different ways. And I'll show you an example where if it's like through a chatbot where you're asking customer for information, or you're getting their email in some different ways, and you're able to get of that data. The different options where you're getting data from Amazon, and before Amazon allowed this, where you're able to sync and you're able to get the customer name and address and automatically do all of this. But then last year they removed this functionality for most software. So this is much harder to do. A lot of brands don't do this anymore, maybe internally, but it's a lot harder. Or you're able to collect data on your own. So it's not necessarily you're taking an Amazon customer away to your own website. That's what Amazon really doesn't like. But you're just driving, you have prospecting, new customer acquisition. You're running these ads where, sure, it's probably someone that purchased on Amazon, but to you, it's a new customer, and you may have that person's information. So then you kind of like link this back to Amazon in different ways, whether it's still to your Amazon or different information. So you know that a purchase actually happened on Amazon. So there's different ways where you're able to get some of that data and then feed it back to Facebook for the attribution to happen. So this is, you can get a good developer to do this for you through the Facebook API, sending information back. This is basically what ZonTracker helps with, but getting that information back. And some of the consequences of this is that you know that throughout different methods, whatever your marketing is, some are easier to have additional customer information and kind of sync data together, because in the end, you need to like send all of that back to Facebook for it to have the attribution, for it to optimize the ads better. So just simple specific example is that in a chat bot, in a messenger flow example, where you're bring out ad, and then in the end, there's your call to action offer, whether it's going to your website or to Amazon. But normally, in most cases, you're running you're running the ads, and you have objective that's messages or something that's relatively top of the funnel. Maybe it's to a colder audience, and that's a lot easier to do. But you can take extra steps where one of the best practices is changing your objective. So it's a little bit hard to do, but as soon as you're able to have an objective that's low the funnel, if you're asking for customer information in different ways, and just, whether it's a customer, they join your, they register for some sort of warranty or some VIP club or a Facebook group, there's different ways where you might have a good reason to ask customer more information that'll allow you to sync data back to Amazon, or even ask the customer, did you buy from us on Amazon or our website? And depending on what they say, that could be pieces of evidence for you then to be able to optimize on data further. So it's not just top of funnel optimization, It's making sure that if you're interpreting your data and it's per message, you may based on the lowest cost per message in your campaigns. But if you have other data in your Facebook manager, such as not just your website purchases, but adding in Amazon purchase, your decisions are going to be a little bit different because you know that the cost may be misleading or cost per click or other type of funnel metrics. So I want to make sure of getting some of those middle and lower of the funnel metrics in there, such as Amazon purchases, definitely going to affect your decisions. So I'm going to show you some attribution and spillover view attribution sales that's happening across brands. First, just wanted to mention that I know even some of the advanced brands and advanced agencies aren't leveraging the phase attribution yet, but it can get you really cool data. So make sure you have this enabled because it'll start building the data, even if you're not sure what to do with it yet, have it later. So it's relatively easy to set up just so you kind of start feeding that data. And one of the ways, if you're evaluating actual Amazon purchase data, you may have other methods of evaluating website purchase multi-channel attribution. You're probably doing that other ways. That's either through Google Analytics or other ways that it's usually easier when thinking about Amazon. But one of the really cool pathways that this is able to reveal is that you're sending Facebook traffic, you're getting Amazon purchase, and you can see that organic Google was actually part of the pathway. So whatever Facebook led to the Amazon purchases, in this case, 5% of the sales came through somebody just went to Google. And it's really hard of being able to measure this in any other way. So this may be a really important metric for some of you, just knowing how complex some of these customer journeys are, and also being able to do the 90-day attribution in the Facebook attribution. So some data across many brands of being able to really evaluate when you're looking at your Amazon ads performance compared to other channels, being fair to where that attribution is happening. So in this example, we're running Facebook, adding Amazon, and anything in between what's happening in there, what we're seeing is that there's spillover. So I'm finding this as you're running a Facebook ad to your website. So in this example, like the second one or this one, running Facebook traffic to your website, but people go to Amazon anyway and shop. They may be researching on your site or they experience your brand, they see the content on your brand, but then they just go over to Amazon. So that's equivalent to your website sales. 5 to 10% of those sales are happening on Amazon as well. And then attribution, which is a little bit different. This is very interesting. Like from your own shopping experience, you can probably think that this is happening as well, where you're running a Facebook ad and the Facebook user clicks the link. And whether that traffic is going to your website or to influencer site or to Amazon, wherever it is, the link is never clicked, but the person just opens the Amazon tab or the Amazon app and goes shop on Amazon. Again, an additional 5% attribution. So we're able to track of these, which is the disadvantage of Amazon attribution or coupon code tracking or some of the other ones I mentioned, because it's like something has to be clicked, but not in this case. Facebook has all of that data. They know somebody viewed an ad, and then as soon as we're feeding data back into Facebook that's equivalent to an Amazon purchase, then Facebook is able to show us some of that. And then if you extend the attribution day further, that could be an additional 5 to 10% attribution. And then only if you're using the attribution feature, you can see up to 90-day. So that could be important for some brands. Maybe not if you have a impulse type of purchase, but for some, the fuller attribution. Again, have to interpret carefully the further the days are out in the attribution, but still having that complete picture will be. So overall, across many brands, it's very common to see that equivalent to your website sales, 20% of that are sales that are happening on Amazon as well. So it's basically additional sales. And that number anywhere, whether it's your Facebook ads, you see your website return on ads. So the ROAS is there, and then you're looking at your Amazon ACoS, but some of this will help basically like build more confidence knowing that you can continue the Facebook ads. So in this example, that's where the ROAS is actually 2.25 instead of 0.9, and that could be really big for some of you. So then another one, what I mentioned earlier about the search, find, buy, and ranking, one of the pathways is that if we're measuring this attribution effect, that this is more of a needed attribution effect, or 28, 90-day attribution. This is more of the still the direct effect, but there's a ranking effect happening. Let's actually have a quiz to see how much are you accounting for ranking effects on Amazon, and like what is your perception on Amazon ranking? This is where you're sending Facebook traffic to Amazon and intentionally trying to increase your ranking, so then Amazon rewards you with a higher ranking because they see the spike of sales, and then they want more customers to see that listing. So this question, so let's have this next poll. So when it comes to Amazon, what is your goal for using Facebook ads? Meaning that, are you specifically funneling traffic to Amazon in different ways to intentionally increase ranking there and then get even more organic because of this external market? Like, is that an intentional goal that you have? Or it's more about where you're fine your website, your branding is there, it's all about your website, and then Amazon, all of the spillover, all of that is just kind of like additional sales that is happening. Or you're using Facebook or external marketing traffic for other reasons when it comes to Amazon. So kind of just like vote. I'm very curious about your understanding of intentionally trying to rank on Amazon. And then what I mentioned, the SFB, search, find, buy, as you guys are in the poll, is that's where you're intentionally telling the customer to go search and find your product and buy it. You're not just giving them your listing. You're actually telling them to carry out. It's going to be more natural data to Amazon. Yes, you're going to lose people along the way, but be much more of an algorithmic, just more algorithmic juice there, where it's going to be stronger effect on Amazon, seeing that there's a more natural customer journey happening. Yes, so looks. So for both, intentionally trying to increase rank, and then just indirect or just more focus on the website. So 62% on the rank, 38% on the brand. So a good mix. So let me close just very briefly. Just because there were a lot of brands that weren't focusing on ranking, and because this fits into what I was talking about, Facebook ads, and then some of the next slides that I'm going to have is that just say in this example where you have 1,000 orders per day on Amazon, and it's equivalent of this red box, that later that's equivalent to 7,000 orders. That if you have your own email list, let's say 100,000 people, you send out a campaign to your website and you get 1,000 customers from that. It's equivalent to this box. So, but let's say you decide not to send that traffic to your website, you're sending it actually to Amazon, or this is equivalent to running Facebook ads to your website or to Amazon, is that you're getting those 1,000 customer conversion rates are going to be plus or minus a little bit. Your margins are going to be different if it's website or Amazon. But these 1,000 orders per day on Amazon and the 1,000 new orders from the email campaign, there's also going to be this boost that I'm talking about, this ranking effect. So in this example, and this varies quite a bit on a lot of factors, but that's 100 orders per day extra like during this process. So you're actually having more sales than if you would have just sent that email campaign to your website. The ranking effect that we're talking about, and if so overall, it kind of a more of an added, and beyond that. So the reason you may want to be aware of that, just because if you're running the Facebook traffic, you have more confidence that is of the attribution and being able to send the traffic. So the next, there's about 5 slides. I'm gonna actually skip some of these so I can get to some of the last ones. This is more different best practices, making sure you're testing in objectives, including the ones to actually get Amazon purchases. So you're able to do that. Just testing for those objectives, just so you're looking at, you have enough diversified data to decide based on actually cost per Amazon purchase. Same thing with testing enough audiences and using tools where you can get access to like the hidden 10 to 20% lookalike, which you get through the Facebook native just natively from there. So it's more audience testing. I'm gonna, if you're the read, you can kind of look into this further, making sure you have some sort of optimization for Amazon as well. Not just, you may have something like this for your website that structures your campaign, but I'm calling this unconventional retargeting, is that when you're running retargeting ads to your website and you're like days later people stop by, like the retargeting ads did their part for your website, you can add in retargeting ads to getting people to shop on Amazon. So that's low-hanging fruit. Some people still like love their Prime. So that's something to do to increase that. But let me talk about, so everything before I'm talking about Zon Tracker with attribution related, and very quickly I want to mention AMZ. What we're seeing is that normally, let's say if you're launching a new product, you release a product to add to your mix, all right, you launch the product and it's available everywhere, or it's ranking, in it gets into the top 100, top 10, and then it's there. But it's actually an incremental process. This is ranked by regions, and then after you're everywhere, the ranks vary across regions. So this is because of lots of different factors: inventory, where your warehouses are, where depending on the type of fulfillment you're doing, the behavior, how the shopping is happening. We know that the rank position varies depending if it's desktop or mobile. So there's all of these factors that vary on how ranking is happening. So important to consider these because when it comes back to your attribution, I'm sorry, I'll come back here in a second. Your attribution is going to vary depending on what strategy you're doing, what types of funnels you're running, and where can you add more information about the customer to be able to send that information back to Facebook to attribute that. So to summarize, just know that there are different options. You're able to send some sort of customer information, usually the more the better, to Facebook to have some attribution, and to more confidence in your Facebook ad, you actually know that it is kind of having that true ROAS where you're adding view sales, spillover sales, all of the sales that are happening, even some sort of ranking effect sales, but just being able to credit that to give you more confidence to have control of your audience more, something Amazon probably doesn't like, but then at the same time amplifying Amazon more for more, and being able to diversify because it's going to give you a different access to data. So the more you're innovating in your market, you're trying different things, it may give you different opportunity to have more customer data to feed back into the for attribution. All right, and we have offer here. So if you guys want to try either of those tools, the code is Feedvisor, 20% off any plan. And Adela, you can take over. That's all I have, and we have some time for Q&A.
Okay, thank you, Yev. So for more insights into brands' advertising and promotional strategies on Amazon and to understand how you stack up against the competition, you can download our 2020 report, Brands and Amazon in the Age of E-commerce. The free analysis includes a state of Amazon advertising, including brands' monthly ad spend and which types of campaigns drive their highest ROAS, a breakdown of how brands use Amazon and allocate media spend across channels, and unique e-commerce challenges and ROI opportunities that brands face today. And now we'd like to dig into some questions for the Q&A. We also have a couple of brief polls that you should see on your screen now. As always, if you'd like to learn more about any of the ongoing initiatives we have here at Feedvisor, or if you're interested in learning more about Zon Tracker or AMZjet, please connect with us. Okay, so let's get into the Q&A. Yeah, the first question we have, what are the pros and cons for only using Amazon attribution?
Yeah, Amazon attribution. So it's a great question, and it's a really new program. So Amazon, I think a lot of Amazon brands and sellers have been requesting of having just more data, more information. So it's a good step in that direction. But the feedback here more is that it's either over attributing or under attributing. There's still issues, and this could be one of them that Amazon like figures out like really quick, and a month it might be better. So that's one of the things where accuracy is still a little bit hard, and you get really cool data from that, right? You can see how people are basically the add to cart, like we never had that data before in Amazon. So it's really neat having that information. But then some of the trade-offs is you need to be tag links in some way. And if you have different external, basically the link needs to be clicked. But as we know from our data and just in market, that customer journeys are getting more complex. There's a multi-device, multi-channel, and multi kind of touch customers are going through. So Amazon attribution doesn't capture a lot of that, and that could be a significant amount of traffic and sales for a lot of brands. So it's good to try to add in Amazon attribution into other types of attribution that you're attempting.
Thanks, Yev. Next question we have, how does Zon Tracker actually determine the attribution? How is the attribution happening?
Yeah, so the main way, and I'll tell you how it works, where anybody can really like do this manually with your own engineer, and then we kind of like figure out different ways to optimize that. Is we're leveraging Facebook's API, so we need some information that's coming from the brand. That information could be from many different sources, whether it's the Amazon API, the brand just like downloads fulfillment reports or has that information, or from their own file information. And then through Zon Tracker, you basically like you send that data, and depending on that, it's either like full automated or semi-automated or manual. It kind of like depends. For example, like the example I had where in ManyChat, if you're asking for more information, that through the ManyChat API, Facebook API will automatically go into Zon Tracker and then feed into Facebook. But the way it's happening on the back end of Facebook is that you can either create offline events. So Facebook thinks that some of our offline events, they're kind of like purchases happening offline. So it's unexpected data to Facebook, but it's basically customer information. And then one thing we figure out through Tracker is how to actually connect that to a pixel. Like in a way, it's like a synthetic pixel. It's a Facebook pixel, but it doesn't live on Amazon. It's just connecting to this Amazon data that we're sending it. You can actually optimize your campaigns for more of those Amazon purchases, which is better than just doing lookalikes of Amazon customers. In the end, it's collecting that information, and it's all through the Facebook API, pretty much.
Thanks, Yev. We have time for one more question. Is using a software like Zon Tracker against Amazon's terms of service?
Great question. So this is, there's different views on, and it depends what you're doing with the data. And one of the things is that there's no exact wording for certain parts on Amazon. So one thing that's very clear, that Amazon usually doesn't like brands doing anything outside of Amazon, right? Like you hear these discussions quite a lot, is that anything you do outside of Amazon, Amazon doesn't like it. Like the actual process is, it's like totally fine. It's within Amazon TOS of how, of what's happening with the data. But I know that some brands are communicating with their customers outside of Amazon, and they're asking for reviews and like only positive reviews. So the way you do it, it could get like black hat very fast. It could get against terms of service. Be careful how you're doing marketing. So this is more of a tool to kind of give options to be able to like diversify your marketing more, and whether you're using it to improve customer support or just if you're using it the way where you're totally getting newcomers, where you're just advertising and it's new audiences, you're collecting that data that belongs to you and you're sending them to Amazon, then that's 100%. There's like no even question about is it Amazon term of service or not, because then Amazon can't prevent you doing anything with your own marketing. So I think it's kind of like depends what like how you're actually using it.
All right, well, that's about all the time that we have today. Yeah, we really appreciate your time. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you very much. I hope that was cool.
Yes, and thank you to everyone listening in. As a reminder, we will be sending out a link to the recording shortly, and for anyone whose questions we didn't have a chance to get to today, we'll be sure to follow up. With that, please feel free to reach out if you're interested in learning more. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.